Indiana Fever fans were chanting, "Sophie, Sophie."
In a game where Caitlin Clark was getting hacked left and right while the refs stood silent, the crowd erupted with one desperate plea: do something. And that's when Sophie Cunningham stepped in. She didn't hesitate. She knew exactly what needed to be done.
Sheldon going coast to coast. And here's we got another.
In a moment that's now gone absolutely viral, Sophie Cunningham didn't just make a statement to JCS Sheldon. She didn't just check the Connecticut Sun. She sent a message loud and clear to the entire WNBA: don't mess with Caitlin Clark.
Teams are going to have to think twice about messing with Caitlin Clark again.
And while fans were absolutely losing it over how Caitlin Clark was attacked on the court, with zero real consequences from the refs, they finally got what they'd been begging for: an enforcer, a protector, someone unafraid to step in and make a statement. Out of the ashes of a dumpster fire of officiating, a star was born. In one electrifying moment, Sophie didn't just defend her teammate, she lit the spark that could shift the entire tone of the Fever season. And yeah, it might feel early to say this, but Sophie just became a household name across the sports world.
They didn't know, like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this to Caitlin Clark. Teammates weren't jumping in there. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah. Yep.
Boom! Wow.
We're already seeing the impact. Within 48 hours of that game, Sophie's name is everywhere. The clips are blowing up, the fans are fired up, and the energy has shifted because this isn't just Fever versus the league anymore. It's Caitlin versus the world, and Sophie, she just became her undisputed bodyguard. Here's the wild part: that one moment could end up making Sophie millions. No exaggeration. The signs are already there, so let's break it down, but first, like this. Video, drop a boxing glove in the comments if you love seeing Sophie step up. And subscribe for more WNBA updates.
When they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to have their teammates' backs.
There's no denying it, the Fever's game against the Sun marked a new low for the WNBA. Complaints about the officiating have been around forever. Kelsey Plum was literally in tears not long ago, saying she prays for things to improve. But what went down against the Sun? That made it painfully clear. It's open season on Caitlin Clark. And the refs, they're not lifting a finger.
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
Ooh, and Marina Mabry, I missed that one, Edona.
JCS Sheldon went straight at the literal face of the league. And in the chaos that followed, Marina Mabry body checked Caitlin to the floor. It felt like Dana Carrington and Chennedy Carter had somehow cloned themselves and stormed back in as a tag team. And when the other angle started rolling in, it became crystal clear it was even more blatant than it looked live.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabry. Boom! I mean, come on.
JC's swipe wasn't just careless, it was targeted. And Marina didn't just bump Caitlin, she sent her flying. The kind of hit that would get flagged instantly in the NBA. In the W, apparently. It's just another Tuesday, and yeah, it was a little disappointing. Sure, Lexi got in JC's face for a second, but overall, the Fever's response on the court felt a little flat, especially from head coach Stephanie White. Now, to be fair, she totally redeemed herself in the press conference, but in that moment, fans were practically begging her to go full Bobby Knight and launch a chair. And honestly, that would have been an iconic visual, considering Knight coached Indiana. And before anyone starts pushing the whole Caitlin soft narrative, just stop.
It made me think if this was LeBron in the NBA, think if this was Steph Curry in the NBA, do you really think that the NBA would be allowing certain players in the NBA to go after LeBron the way that Caitlin was chucked to the ground? Do you think if another player came up, blindsided LeBron, chucked him to the ground after he had just been poked in the eye, that the NBA would be like, oh yeah, technicals, nobody's ejected, just a common technical foul? That would never happen. It would never happen.
There's no way this would happen to Steph or LeBron without consequences. The commentators were stunned that Marina wasn't tossed for that body check. And here's a kicker: Caitlin Clark is way more important to the WNBA right now than Steph or LeBron are to the NBA. That's not some hot take. That's just the truth. We saw what happened when Caitlyn missed 5 games.
Even as good as that rating was, Caitlin Clark's good for about 1 million extra viewers.
Ratings didn't just dip, they cratered. Fever games dropped by over 50%, and league-wide interest took a nosedive. You'd think there'd be a mandate from the top. Give Caitlyn the bubble wrap treatment. Star calls, real protection, the full package, so yeah. This wasn't just a bad miscall, it was outrageous treatment of the league's most valuable superstar. A total black eye for the WNBA. And now, everyone's calling it out, fans, analysts, even former players, because this isn't just about missed whistles. It's about a bigger problem, disrespect at a league-wide level.
And I mean, when I tell you social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, not in a good way, that's the understatement.
Anyway, even though the Fever were up big, cruising toward a win, and Caitlyn had already dropped the highlight of the night, an epic 3-pointer followed by some cold-blooded trash talk to the Suns bench. Something still felt off. It didn't feel finished. It didn't feel settled. There was this strange emptiness, like the clock was winding down, but the message hadn't been delivered. And then Sophie stepped in.
That's a flagrant foul. It's a hard foul.
With the game in hand, Sophie dropped J.C. Sheldon with a hard foul and then casually put her taekwondo training to work. It was cathartic. Fever fans, WNBA fans, Caitlin Clark fans, everyone who's been fed up with how Clark's been treated, finally got the pushback they've been begging for. But this went way deeper than just one play. That moment wasn't just about J.C. Sheldon. It felt like Sophie was swinging back at weeks of cheap shots, missed calls, and flat-out disrespect. Like she was delivering a message for every fan who's watched the refs turn a blind eye. This wasn't just a foul, it was payback.
And I truly think that this was a message that she was sending to the leagues, to the officiating, just like to everybody, because it is, if you are watching any of these games, you are seeing that there is a disparity in the way that it's being officiated, and the Indiana Fever are held to a standard that no other team is held to.
And here's where things get really interesting, because this goes way beyond just one hard foul. What happened against the Sun feels like a turning point for the league, sure. Maybe the WNBA finally takes a long, hard look at its officiating issues and decides it's time to clean things up, maybe. But the fact that there were 0 consequences for this, a full-on face swipe, followed by a body check on the league's biggest star, that was a step too far.
All right, enough is enough. You know, at some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be corrected.
There are 2 major outcomes from that game, and both are massive. On one hand, you've got Caitlin Clark fans who are already running low on patience for over a year. They've been belittled by the media, told they're not real basketball fans, even called downright awful names, all while they've been the ones filling arenas and sending viewer shipped through the roof. And now, after watching Caitlyn get raked across the face and body checked to the floor with 0 consequences, that frustration has officially boiled over into outrage.
Again, the league's been handed this miracle, this beacon of light, while it was down in some dungeon in the basement on life support, and it was never turned a profit, lost $40 million last year. They get handed this beacon of light, and all these players cannot stand her. They're jealous, the players union. It looks like the whole league.
There's a point, and a lot of Caitlin Clark fans have hit it where it honestly feels like the league doesn't want to succeed with Caitlin Clark, and when that sets in, something shifts. Fans start rooting for 2 things at once: for Caitlin to keep dominating, and for the league to completely fall apart in every game she's not in. Because if you're not going to protect her, promote her, or even acknowledge what she's doing for your growth, then why should her fans care about anything else? It's a toxic dynamic, one that splits the fan base, isolates the league's biggest star, and threatens long-term growth. And then there's this.
So this is a petition to get Sophie Cunningham removed from the WNBA. Where she displayed tonight was disgusting.
Now, look, you might think this is just internet noise or some silly little petition. And don't worry, I'll get to Sophie's epic clapback in a minute, because it's genuinely hilarious. But first, let's talk about what's actually going on. There are people out there, not just trolls, but actual chunks of the fandom completely losing their minds. They're calling for Sophie to be kicked out of the league, demanding the WNBA move the All-Star game out of Indianapolis, even pushing for boycotts, and what makes it all even more hilarious, just take a breath and look back a few months.
The anti-Clark fans, I am seeing them not only celebrate Kyrie Fan in this situation, but say that Sophie Cunningham was at fault for what happened, and she got what she deserved, and saying good job Kyrie Fan.
In a preseason game against the Mystics, when Sophie Cunningham got taken to the ground hard, Clark haters were totally fine with it. Not only did they defend the hit by Kiki Fenn, they straight up celebrated it, and some of the loudest voices online, they were actually encouraging more of it.
We are seeing literal people, not threats of violence, but people encouraging violence against a player. And that's not on. That's not on for nothing. There are people literally out there encouraging violence against Sophie Cunningham. And these are the people that want to say another fan base is the worst fan base in the WNBA, and they're encouraging literal violence against players.
This is just my take, but it really feels like we've got a league and a chunk of its fandom that simply can't emotionally handle Caitlin Clark being the one leading the way. And it's not just about her. That energy spills over to anyone who supports her, plays alongside her, or dares to defend her on the court. Just look at what happened after the Sky game, when Angel Reese got fouled by Caitlin. The outrage didn't stop there. It immediately turned toward the Fever players. Fans started attacking them too, questioning their toughness, their response, even their character, all because they didn't retaliate the way some people wanted. That's not just sports banter. That's something deeper. It's like simply being associated with Caitlin Clark makes you a target. Once again, it's Caitlin Clark and her teammates against the world.
The kind of stuff that's being said to them, the stuff that's being said to Kelsey Mitchell, the kind of things that are being said to Natasha Howard are actually wild. People have taken a photo of these women and circled a bullseye on them and have said, it's on site when I see you. Those are actual threats.
And with all of that tension brewing, you've now got the perfect storm for what's unfolding with Sophie Cunningham. Because she didn't just defend Caitlin, she stepped into a role fans have been begging for. She became the enforcer, the one willing to take a stand, send a message, and put the entire league on notice. And that moment, that flagrant, that viral clip, that energy is already turning her into a star. Not just in Indiana, not just with Fever fans, but across the entire sports world, because in just 48 hours, everything changed.
It's actually insane how viral this has already gone. There's so many NBA accounts who are tweeting it. I was getting ESPN notifications about it. Like, it is wild how much traction.
Sophie's actions are blowing up everywhere, social media, YouTube, you name it. It's all anyone can talk about. And here's why that actually matters. Caitlin Clark's fan base isn't just loyal. It's massive, it dwarfs every other. Following in the league, these fans don't just watch, they organize, they post, they defend. And they elevate anyone who rides with Caitlin. And Sophie, she didn't just ride. She stood in front of the train and said, not today. She backed Caitlin Clark on the national stage in the middle of a wild physical game, right when fans were aching for anyone to step in. And now, she's being rewarded. Sophie gained nearly 600,000 TikTok followers in just 48 hours. After the game, that's not just a little bump. That's sponsors noticing. That's agents making calls. That's people who didn't even know her name 2 days ago now calling her the bodyguard of the W. And this is only the beginning.
Sophie Cunningham's jersey has sold out. I repeat, the Sophie Cunningham Fever jersey has sold out.
Her jersey sold out within hours. Fans who hadn't even heard her name a week ago were suddenly all in. And that petition to get her kicked out of the league, Sophie had the perfect response.
I wonder how much money Sophie Cunningham is going to make on endorsement deals this season, this summer. Like, I think Sophie Cunningham's endorsement deals are going to go into the millions, are going to be in the millions this year. I think they're going to be in the millions this year. Because if you are not only like good in front, like she's good in front of a camera, she is now known as the Caitlin Clark's enforcer. And like, it's something that matters. It's something that really, really matters.
At the end of the day, people vote with their wallets and their attention, and right now, all signs point to Sophie Cunningham, already known in WNBA circles, officially breaking through as a Caitlin Clark fan favorite, and here's what that really means. Critics love to claim Caitlin Clark fans only care about Caitlin, that they don't support the WNBA, or even the Fever, just one player. But that's simply not true. Yes, they adore Caitlin, but they also care deeply about the team she plays for. And more than anything, they rally around anyone who has her back. And you can't get any more in her corner than what Sophie just did. She stepped up, took a hard foul, sent a message, risked her body to defend the face of the league, and now the fans are rewarding her big time. And no, this doesn't feel like some temporary viral moment that fades by next week. Sophie Cunningham just earned Caitlin Clark fans for life. And when that bond is locked in, wild things happen. Look at Kate Martin, a second-round pick who averaged under 3 points per game last year, outselling the reigning league MVP in jerseys. Why? Because she was Caitlin Clark's Iowa teammate. So now ask yourself, what's about to happen with Sophie Cunningham, who just went full enforcer, ate a flagrant and bonded with the fan base on a whole new level? Simple. She's about to make bank.
For me to come in here knowing what I've been taught, I kind of want to spread it around, especially with how talented this group is. I'm just excited to kind of maybe be that calm piece when it needs to be calm, that feisty, sassy, stick up for my teammates when it needs to be that. And so just kind of reading the room and, whatever the team needs that day, being able to provide.
First off, Sophie already had the factor to be a star back in her Mercury days. She was moonlighting as a TV analyst for the Phoenix Suns and crushing it. She's a total natural on camera, charismatic, relaxed, the kind of person who can banter with the media, engage fans, and never sound like a robot reading cue cards. She gets it. And let's not forget she's not just out there throwing elbows. Sophie's no goon. She's a baller. She's hit clutch shots, made smart plays, and proven she can be the veteran leader the Fever need. Whether it's a brawl, a big game, or a full-blown media storm, Sophie shows up.
They didn't know, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this to Caitlin Clark. Teammates weren't jumping in there. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah. Yep.
Boom! Wow.
A lot of people were already calling her the Fever's most underrated signing. The quiet X factor who makes everything click. The one giving Caitlin Clark and the entire Fever squad the toughness, the spacing, and the leadership they need to really take over the WNBA. And now, we're watching that prediction come to life in real time. In a league where everything's gotten personal, fans versus the establishment. Caitlin versus the haters, one thing is crystal clear. Caitlin Clark fans are fiercely loyal, and they're throwing their full support behind anyone who steps up to defend her. Sophie Cunningham. She didn't just step up. She answered the bell loudly, publicly, and perfectly. And now, she's about to enjoy every bit of the rewards coming her way. If you're still with us, drop a basketball emoji in the comments to say hey. Thanks for watching.